And welcome back to our next session with Chelsea Jones from Chelsea and Rachel. Chelsea, how are you doing today?
I am doing good. It's so good to be here, Brian.
Oh, thanks for joining us. I really appreciate it with your time. Well, let's just dive right into things. First of all, co-founding with Rachel, Chelsea and Jones, Shopify Plus agency. Can you give us just the deal of what type of work do you do at your agency?
Yeah, I love this. So we're actually OG in the agency space. In January, it's going on 10 years that we have had this agency, and our specialty in this time frame has really grown just as Shopify has grown with kind of going up market and focusing on strategy, design, UX design, and development. I have a philosophy that we take brands from a JV to a varsity level online. So I'm all about best in class work and putting out creative that really makes commerce better, and makes brands just excited about the work that they're showcasing as their website and their digital presence.
I love that. JV diversity. That's cool. Makes it really simple, honestly. Actually, one other question on that. You work on customer experience, also marketing development. Is it pretty much broad strokes? Is it you kind of dabble in all of those for your clients?
So, great question. We are professional problem solvers in this ecosystem. So, we have two paths as an agency. We do both projects and retainers. When we're doing retainer model, it's more of like ongoing strategy and development work and organic growth. When we do projects, it's more like we're building your house and we're doing everything from content creation to overhaul of your Figma files to then the rebuild of the custom theme development that we do a lot of that in Shopify Plus. But migrations and subscription have been our main focus for a lot of brands and their growth strategies. And we don't do any paid media. We don't do anything regarding the driving of the traffic. We do all organic growth and then specialize in the tech stack to help, from a flywheel standpoint, to help them actually improve
Yeah.
their sales.
So, I guess the first question I have for you is: it sounds like you deal with a lot of fast-growing D2C Shopify brands. So, and you mentioned that it's more about problems, like solving problems. So can you actually talk about what are the patterns that you see when you're diving into these clients that are fast growing, specifically about customer experience? Is there a pattern that typically kind of you see often in your space?
Yeah, it's a great question. So before I answer that question, I'll tag it with this. So
All
Chelsea and
right.
Rachel Company is also known as CNR Co, like C plus sign R Co. Like
Oh,
a little bit of an ode of like CRO, so conversion rate optimization, and then the plus sign for Shopify Plus. But I
I
share
love that. I didn't know that. That's great.
Yeah. So it's kind of fun. I share that from a branding standpoint that it's so important that like we as experts in this space help brands understand that clarity of what is it that they're actually doing, because I believe that the future is really the output of information has to be clear, concise, and also worthwhile, because we're inundated with so much stuff. So when you come full circle to your question about customer service and experience, my passion is saying in this AI and bot generated world, we're still humans talking to humans. And as brands, we need to elevate our experience level, because it's not just given, it's expected, right? It's just like when Target went more into Target and started bringing in designers and their stuff got a little bit better and the quality is there and people started spending more. You have the same concept for brands right now, is you have to elevate your presence, your branding, your content, because it's expected for you to actually survive and grow into this next phase of information that we're leaning into as like an industry.
So then, I hope I'm not getting too deep here, and if you could share some things, like, do you have an approach that you take with your clients? Like, are there questions that you ask that kind of get to that brainstorm thinking with the client that you could better understand what they're looking for when it comes to a next kind of level of customer experience for them?
Yes. So we do. We have kind of a whole process that we do in strategy. But the big thing I always say is we are doctors and specialists, as well as the visionaries and reverse engineering where you're going from. So when I say doctors and specialists, like there's always problems that are in everybody's e-commerce and site and stuff, because most companies have grown pretty quickly or had a lot of technical debt from just trying things when it comes to technology. So there needs to be an understanding of like, okay, just like our bodies, we go to doctors for specialists if something's hurting, of like understanding what is it on your site that is a problem, is not, and that you need to address now. And then the opposite is true of like the creative and the content creation. So we use a program called Figma, which is the UX UI design
Yep.
creative program. And what I love about Figma and the way we've been able to innovate is we really are leaning into what is the future of design? What is the future of storytelling? And how does storytelling equate with technology? And how does that ultimately impact brands? So, in full circle to your question of how we take people in a strategy process, that's my passion, is to be like, all right, Ryan, if you had a brand right now, where is it you want this brand to go? What is it you're trying to accomplish? Is it just more sales? Is it that you have an impact in mind? Are you B Corp certified? Are you interested in, let's say like Tom's Shoes, for example, they were wanting to give away a pair of shoes for every shoe they sold. Like that was their ethos. And I think it's more and more important that the companies that are going to survive and thrive in the future have a real foundation of their why and their storytelling about that in the way that they're communicating across all digital channels. And their website is hub for that. Like their website and the way that they engage with commerce on mobile and on desktop needs to be addressed all the way through.
You're inspiring me. How important is consistency then? It sounds like you can help uncover the why, and the why is the first. And now that you have the why and what the brand should be, I assume that then it's the consistency of that across all touch points is rather important. Is that true, or is that not important?
It's very important. And consistency matters because it's just like how people present and different things matter. So I'm a big component of coaching and therapy and life. Like, we always need to be learning and growing. I think it's the same thing for brands in a consistent pattern of what does your brand mean? What are you doing? And then how are you making steps to do that? But you have to do it in a way that doesn't get into the perfectionism. We're not going to put anything out there mode. I say imperfect action is better than no action every day, but it needs to be in direction to elevating where you're going to go. So for example, my own practice, I do visualizations on like my team, myself, where we're kind of going into the future regarding the work that we're doing now. And I think it's important for brands to do the same thing. And then the work that they craft now can be elevated to that space. Does that make sense? Like on a little bit more clarity, like without a North Star, people don't know where they're going. And when it comes to elevation, and because I'm a woman, I'm going to go in this, I wear lipstick and dresses, and I love the concept of an outfit can change your mindset sometimes if you feel really good in your space and with different things. It's the same for brands. Putting out content that you're really proud of, that you feel like is an ethos and an up level in the way that you look and feel, it matters. And so the full circle of that is really comes back to like kind of a challenge to brands and companies that are looking at elevating their direct to consumer channel. Stop looking at it as just one channel and look at it as a whole arch of this elevates your entire company, because we're commerce first, and how you engage with somebody all the way to checkout matters for the rest of your company growth goals.
So I guess what I want to ask on this subject is more on like the customer support side, and this is more out of curiosity, because when I've talked to founders, it's almost like, or I should say, there's some founders that are like, okay, let's just kind of solve this issue and move on from it, which is where like the outsourcing comes in, or okay, just hire this BPO, let them solve it, and not worry about it. But it sounds like to me, Chelsea, like you would take the point of view of like, again, every single touch point is an opportunity to tell that why. And so you shouldn't think, or you would tell a founder or CEO that like there's no reason to say like, okay, just solve this and move on, rather than like, no, like let's really go deep into every single channel, whether that's the first touch in marketing to the last touch in customer support. Is that true, or can you push me off of that?
Yeah, so I think there's definitely truth to that. I always advocate that brands and companies and founders need to look at what is it they're really trying to accomplish, and then put into places experts or teams to execute in that vision. So what I say is different about our agency, when we get to be involved with a brand and build their house. Let's say it was a project. You came to us and you had a new brand refresh that you're doing. You want us to build your whole new website in a custom theme. Well, the reason people choose to work with us, or the reason that we're elevating in this JV to varsity, is because we're collaborative by nature. It is a process and it's a journey. It's not just a output destination. And so that's part of what I'm trying to change in this landscape of having more conversations with founders and CEOs that commerce matters, and commerce is more than just a transaction. You need to be looking at it from an overarching brand storytelling and pulling your why forward, because this is the time that you will engage with people more often than not. And it's becoming more difficult in the marketplace, right? We're seeing cost of acquisition is higher. We're seeing longer engagement before people make a purchase, the different factors in economy. So those things all aside, it matters the output that you're putting and that you're being consistent in that messaging, in that creative, and in that way that really draws people in based on an ethos of not only what you're selling, but who you are.
Can the why change in a point of time during the brand's existence, or would you say that should be the most consistent thing about your brand from the day that you start to the end? Or have you dealt with clients that do change their why in the middle of the process?
I have dealt with both. I think it
Uh,
depends on the brand, and it depends on their leadership, to be honest. I
yeah.
am a firm believer without quality leadership, you don't have the way and path forward. And in this space, people change at a C-level quite often. So I think that's a good question, but I don't think it fully matters if it changes or not. Life is about change. It matters still about that consistency and being very clear on the why. And if it is to change, you have to be very tactful and strategic on how you do that change across all touch points. So it's very unified in nature.
Now, you're as you called out your company and yourself OGs. Now, knowing that, have you seen change in the last 10 years of just how people are thinking about customer experience and prioritizing customer experience? Has it always been that way, or has it been a shift in your mind?
Oh, I think it's absolutely been a shift, because I think, originally when Shopify started and people were just excited to put something out there and sell some products, they weren't actually thinking of engaging with customers or the data about their customers in the same way that we are now. Customer experience has grown extensively, just like the demand for quality design has, right? And quality in general when it comes to your messaging, your transparency. We're in an age now where transparent leadership, it like trumps over anything, right? Like
Yeah.
anything can be found out, via Google searches or videos or different stuff. So those that do rise to the top, I'm a big reader and I like Brene Brown. So she speaks about like
Yep.
vulnerability, and this concept is I think really apparent as we go forward, because we're in a world where everything's tracked, everything's recorded. We have, you could say I like pizza, and then all of a sudden your phone is showing you ads based on pizza in the area. Like it's very much, this is our reality, not a fiction. And so to lean into that, we have to be more engaged with customer service, because without asking the marketplace, without asking your customers, you don't always know. You can have theories or ideas. And so back to your question of, does the why change? I think it can, based on the market and the customers themselves, if you have the right leaderships that's listening and adapting to that, and making that more of the priority.
Yeah. I think just to clarify, like continuous listening to your customers, right, throughout the entire existence is super important, because if customers change, right, and then you're going to have to listen, and you might be changing as well. So right before we're talking, we talked about AI really quick. And you recently, it sounded like you were at an AI conference yourself. How often are you talking about AI to your clients now?
Okay, so honestly, quite a bit. And here's why. AI is the fastest growing eclipse that we've ever seen in something, right? Like you look at Chat GTP and how many people like engaged with it almost overnight. And then the growth hockey puck of it, like it's not a matter of if, but when this changes people's behavior in consumer buying, right? So what do we do with that without going down a rabbit hole or getting scared about the robots taking over the world? It's more of a question of, okay, this is happening. How do we assess this and still get back to our purpose of, we're humans talking to humans? How do we use this as a tool to be able to better serve them? So my philosophy in AI and customer service in particular is and you guys, any of you have played with ChatGPT, nothing can be like completely verified, right? You have to like, you
Right.
can get it for research, you can get it for ideas, but you need to absolutely edit things and make it more specific because it's not accurate and it's just not built that way yet. It just, the latest launch just started researching the internet, whereas before it wasn't. And this was just a few weeks ago.
Right.
So I say that to say it's innovating, it's growing, there's some powerful tools there. But how it equates back to customer service is that we understand what is happening, but also that it makes it easier for us to have a day-to-day engagement. Let me give you an example. I see this AI as a shift in tools, just like we saw iPhones when they came out, and now everybody can even run a business on their phone versus just having computers in big rooms, right? So
Yep.
if we know that and we put that perspective of this is a tool, how do we use this tool? I think you're going to start seeing incredible innovation happening in entrepreneurs that lean into it, that want to do it better. And you're going to see some companies go out of business because they can't adapt and adjust to the changing times. So the fact of those that want to lean in and adapt and adjust, just understand what tools are best for you. One of my favorite applications is Rebuy. It sits on the power of AI and e-commerce for upsells and cross sells in sites, and that's like a good example of a SaaS company that's doing it well. But because AI is such a trend and a buzzword right now, I think it's more important than ever that you get experts involved and you don't just start going off on all this shiny object syndromes because people are claiming AI that's not real AI. There are companies out there, though, like Clickly is another one. It's an AI performance marketing company that is really good and gives people results. So I think it's just doing your homework, doing your due diligence of how this is being used, and making sure that there's an edit process of humans reviewing what is output of AI, so that you're not just publishing stuff as a brand that doesn't have at least a check and balance right now.
Yeah. Um, I love that you're starting to rattle off all these technologies. Now, what I find really interesting, Chelsea, is that there's so much innovation going on across the entire ecosystem that it probably puts the pressure on you and the team to have more understanding in this space as well too, if I'm correct on that. And again, I also think it puts a lot of, it's not pressure, but another reason to look at an agency like yourself, because again, there's so much going on. Let me go to an expert in the space like yourself and like tell me like what are the things that actually I need to know right now, and it's a value add from an agency. Are you experiencing that yourself right now with clients?
Yeah, I completely agree. It's a value add as an agency. And I think that's what I want to put out in the world more of, is like, I have blocked out my time. Like I said, I just went to a conference that had AI specialized this last weekend. I'm actively learning and curious because that's who I am by nature, but I can't lead or have the right strategies for my clients and customers if I don't know myself as well. So I think because it's a changing landscape, it's important that we have these conversations, but I'm excited. I feel like this is an innovation time. And to me, that's the fun part of how can we be more creative to solve problems that we know are in the marketplace. But on the flip side, while being more creative, how do we make sure it has checks to be back to that why? That's why I kind of like do those as a balance, because where I think people and even brands or companies can get off track is they can go down a rabbit hole in some of the AI world stuff, and then they're off track to actually what their why is. Like, is this tool going to help with this? So it's kind of going back to that clarity piece, and
Yeah.
that's what I love helping companies understand. And then we can bring those tools to the forefront so that they can run at a faster clip and have those results that they want to see, but also be more innovative. Like, part of my vision for my team is that we put best in class work out there. And the only way that's going to happen in this AI world is that we also are testing and trying and being a leader in this space. So I want to lead like this innovation, because to me, it impacts anybody that's in this commerce world as they are. And quite frankly, the way that Shopify is projected to kind of go more up market, and some of these big traditional large enterprise companies, there's a lot of confusion around AI and how it's going to affect them. And I think the important thing is you get smart people in the room together and then you innovate on those problem solvings. And that's what I love to do, is collaborate in strategy of like, how can we make this a strategic move for AI for this company's growth goals or this company's why that we're executing on.
Is it, from your conversations with your clients now, are they more centered around efficiency, and how to utilize AI to be more efficient? Is it centered around growth right now and how to use AI to grow even faster? Or is it more centered around, and I'm just going to pick out another one, maybe like money and how do we save on certain tools or customer support or wherever, and utilize AI? Is there any sort of focus there, or has it been all three?
Good question. I think it's actually been all three, and it depends on the brand a little bit. In the efficiency category, I think where this is going to be really helpful is for us to diagnose things faster. Every company and every brand has technical debt in this space going into 2024 because the internet and ways things were built was moving at such a fast clip, right? And so without the efficiency of like auditing that or like your tune up in a way, I think AI is going to help with that. I think in terms of the growth and the money side, it's going to help in getting more creative ideas around competition and around avatar research and around market research in general. It's not always as accurate, but the data that, like, for example, a prompt I put into ChatGTP recently for a client of mine and was able to do in just a few minutes time that used to take hours of research is like, give me a list of every company that has this GMV level with this kind of wellness thing with this, and it'll spit out stuff. Sometimes it's accurate, but sometimes you just have to check. But the amount of information that we have access to right now is
Yeah.
just incredible, and it's how we use it that's going to matter. So
Yeah.
that's why all three of those questions are pretty important in my mind.
I kind of knew it was going to be all three, but I wanted to see if you would shift one way or the other. Um, if you don't mind, are there any? I know you talked about a couple examples with Rebuy, and then it was Clicksy. Is that what it was?
Quickly, yeah.
Clickly. Any other examples, use cases like that, that you have implemented yourself earlier on with now the innovations of AI that you can talk about?
Sure. I'm an open book. People know that when it comes to me. So I actually just implemented daily.ai, which is a newsletter concept about AI performance stuff. One of my growth goals for this next year is to be more of an influencer in this space with my team. And the only way I'm going to do that is actually to put out information and get more content going. I have been so busy just focusing on the client work that I haven't had time to actually strategize on our own marketing plans as an agency. So that's one I'm using and going to lean into because I want to put good work out there and from a newsletter perspective. But I also think it's going to be a game changer for the way algorithms are addressing for brands. So it's really important now than ever that decision makers in marketing and founder level look at commerce in a different way because of AI. Meaning, are you knowing your numbers really well now? Because they're going to shift probably at a more rapid pace as we get into the future than they did prior. So we have to be able to adapt to that based on the data that we're seeing.
Oh, that's great. Um, I want to end on one thing, Chelsea, and that's kind of, again, looking forward. It's hard to say, like, looking forward to the future because I feel like we're in the future right now. So maybe it's just like current state. Now, I know a lot of people listening are VPs, CEOs, or even just managers, of a lot of D2C brands here. Now, if they haven't even touched anything around AI right now, specifically centered around CX, like, what would your advice be to them to take those next steps? Or maybe your advice is not to take the next steps, but what would you tell them, if it's like AI is all around them and they're like, what do I do here? Like, how should I move forward with everything and all the innovation going on?
I love it. Well, the first thing I would do is lean into your SaaS for customer service. So we're Gorgeous partners. Perfect example would be Ask Gorgeous. Like, you pay for this software on the back end of Shopify for a reason. What innovations are they doing with AI? Shopify is doing innovations with AI. I think before they pivot into more tools or more understanding, ask with the certain SaaS technology that you have now on what innovations are happening. Klaviyo as well is a good one, or SMS. What are ways that you can do that? And then implement things that make sense for your brand. So, for example, like I just shared personally, my implementation was daily.ai. So I knew in my roadmap, I wanted to start putting out a more consistent newsletter. You said consistency was really important, and I want the open rate to be better. Well, that's what this particular function is supposed to do and help me with. So if I can shortcut some of that. That's an intent based on something I had as a goal. So I think for these brands and CEOs that are looking at what do they want to do this next year, if it's, like you said, money, if it's the sales side of it and they want to increase, let's say, their conversion rate from 3 to 4, well, what are tools right now that are focused on conversion rate optimizations based on AI patterns that they can maybe think of? Is it a traffic problem? Is it a development problem because their site is too slow? Is it a content problem because the creative? There are certain tools in AI in all those categories. You just have to be specific about the ask. It's just like ChatGPT. It's only as good as the prompts that you put in there. I would just encourage and challenge those CEOs to do the same thing.
Oh, that's great. Well, Chelsea Jones, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate that. Chelsea Jones, co-founder of Chelsea and Rachel, taking, I'm going to just say this for myself, taking JV D2C Shopify brands to the varsity level. Do I got that?
You got that. Love it.
That's awesome. Okay. Again, thank you for your time, and we'll talk later.
Thank you so much. Bye, Brian.